Let's go find a game of cards.
These glyphosate roots. They're everywhere.
Well, we are underground.
Then I guess we have some clearing up to do.
And me without my gardening shears.
And welcome back to part 4 of Devil May Cry 5. I had to record this mission twice because I left my mic on mute, damn it! On PS5, they've got a mute button on the controller now. Like, back on the PS4, there was no such thing, so which is why anytime when I was live and I wanted to shut up for a cutscene, you just hear me pull out the mic because it didn't have a mute button. I did the whole mission, went to look at my recording, and I was like, why can't I hear myself? Oh. Well, I'm gonna have to go over all my points. I'll end up being more brief, and I'll try not to be. I'll try and go into the detail I did, but the point I started with when I was talking about this mission is that I think this is V's best mission because it gives him the most freedom to breathe. Despite how linear and corridor-like a lot of this mission is, I feel like it's built to work in his design more than the other missions. And so I end up, despite not liking the character, enjoying this mission to an extent because I feel like it gives you the most to work with. Because you'll be bonking enemies off the ceiling, you'll be bouncing them off walls, you'll be doing a lot of little things that just help out. And to add on to it, the boss at the end is his better fight, which I know isn't saying much because he's only got 2 bosses, so one of them has to be better. But I genuinely think it's a good boss fight that's well crafted to work for his playstyle. While Needhog really isn't because it's just a thing pinned to the wall that runs away. I'm so gutted. It was a good run too. Oh. I think I wouldn't be as gutted if it wasn't for the fact that I did 2 missions in the recording. Like, I feel like I've got to do 2 now, even if I end up doing a shitter run, so it ends up being slower. Like, I've got to do both of them again. And I had like a really detailed conversation about the secret missions of this game as well. But we got to talk about this. Throughout the course of this mission, a boss that its name I won't spoil because even though we're fighting it later this part, is going to be having its feet break through the ground accidentally every now and then through it, and you can break it to get it to go away sooner, even though it will always be out for a set period of time regardless, making it kind of the only threat in Heaven or Hell. If you don't know, Heaven or Hell is an optional extra difficulty in this game where absolutely everything, you, enemies, bosses, the like, will die in one hit. So it can be heavenly or hellish depending on who gets hit first. But you just shoot everything as you go through it because everything dies in one hit immediately the moment you shoot them. The only exception of the things that are going to be a threat then are stage hazards. But there's only 2 real big stage hazards in this game. This is one of them. The other one is completely avoidable, and that's in Mission 15. There's spikes everywhere in Mission 15, but there's routes you can take that makes it so you avoid every single spike. So this is the only stage hazard that's likely to hit you, because even if you destroy it, which it will in one hit because everything's on one hit, it doesn't matter because it has to exist for a set period of time and can still catch you. And if it catches you once, well, you die. Which is like the only reason why I ever recall that threat, because it's the only thing that will likely hit you in the entirety of Heaven or Hell. And it makes Hell or Hell even more suckish. Hell or Hell is the same rule applies, but only to you. So you die in one hit, enemies are normal. Which makes it, to be honest, the least fun difficulty in the game, in my opinion. Like, I get some people like the thrill of having to be a perfectionist with it, but it's just never been my cup of tea. Like, I don't mind making the odd mistake. I'd rather the challenge be you can't make too many mistakes, not you make one, it's over. And I know it's technically not like that because they give you 3 gold orbs as like extra chances, but still. Anyway, back over here, the reason why I went over ahead first and then backtracked is because I didn't have enough DT to show this off. But if you've got enough Devil Trigger, you can break through this wall back here once we deal with these guys. Goodbye. That will only hurt my ranking because it's just 3 of them, but whatever. Go over here, click your Devil Trigger, and it will break through, leading to a completely optional extra encounter and access to the secret mission of this area if you go up the stairs afterwards. Which will lead me on to the conversation I was having about secret missions last time, but you know, my mic was muted, so whatever. Secret missions in this game, I feel like, are a bit of a wasted opportunity. I like how you have to find them. Like, I like how instead of it being just click on a door or click on a thing on the wall or find a red glowing thing somewhere like in DMC3 and 4, I like that you have to actually make the effort to position yourself right, then spin the camera. Like, it turns into like a little mini game of trying to find it, and I like that extra effort to it. It makes it a bit more creative and unique compared to just find a thing on the wall. But I'm not keen on the actual secret missions themselves, because they had so much room to innovate and make unique new challenges, and they just did the most bare bones basic optional challenges possible. When Transformers Devastation and Devil May Cry 2 have secret missions where you fight harder versions of the final boss, and if you're sitting there going, DMC 2 didn't. DMC 2 had extra secret missions on harder difficulties. You had 1 through 20, but then you'd get 21 through 40 on hard and 41 through 60 on DMD. Secret Mission 60 would be 2 of the final boss at once. And so even Devil May Cry 2 had a cool idea of trying to mix up some of the secret missions, despite the fact that it's only combat rooms in the secret missions in 2, but whatever. But they had this cool thing with it, and like, they could have gone all the way with Devil May Cry 5. They could have made it so one of the secret missions is, like, I don't know, there's 4 Clyforth routes bosses, and you got to kill all of them, but they're like all in close proximity, so they could try and hit you each, sort of thing. Or 2 Goliaths attacking at once. So maybe the first, like, you start only fighting one on the roof, but then when you break into the city, a second one shows up or something. But they could have had more creative ones. They could have had ones that are just bosses, like, if they really put the money in, which I imagine that was probably the constraint for this, but they could have made it so you just fight unique fights. Like, there's a unique boss that you fight. Like, to jump the gun with the Virgil DLC, there's a boss fight against Dante in that DLC. They could have just had a secret mission be you fight Dante. If they really wanted to, but they didn't, no. But imagine how cool that would have been if it's just you go to a secret mission as Nero, you start it up, and suddenly it's just Dante there, and you get that rematch from the fight in DMZ4. And they could have just made his AI the same as it was in DMZ4, you know, where he didn't use Devil Trigger and only used Rebellion and his styles. Like, they literally could have just copy and pasted. I say that, I'm no tech whiz, and I can imagine transferring things from the MC Framework 2 all the way to the RE engine wouldn't have been as easy as copy-paste. But they could have used it as a template, and I can imagine it wouldn't have cost them anywhere near as much as it would have been. Especially since Dante, you know, already has a moveset as he's playable. I can imagine it wouldn't have been as much of a strain to do that. But the point I'm getting at is, instead of getting those kind of secret missions, we got get to the goal without touching the floor twice, I might add, once as V, once as Nero. We got kill all the enemies in the room, and we're going to give you way too much time to kill very little enemies. We're going to give you, hold a stylish rank for a minute. Stay in the air for 15 seconds. Like, it's all stuff that's just like, oh. Like, it just feels really underwhelming. And it's like, we let it off back in, like, DMC 1, 3, and maybe even to extent 4, because there weren't other games around that were really messing around with secret optional challenges like that. Like, at least not that much. But when you got God Hand having you fight, like, a harder version of the final boss, Transformers Devastation having you fight Optimus Prime and Megatron in one of its optional challenges, and DMC 2 having you fight 2 of the final boss at once in the DMD final secret mission, there was at least something they could have taken and been a bit more creative with. They could have mixed it up. They could have had something going with it, and they just didn't. We just got the generic bare minimum again. And it's like, yeah, it's all well and good, like, to have it. So I was like, was in the good old days, but a lot's innovated from the good old days. Just referencing the old isn't sometimes enough. And that is what my problem with the secret missions. It feels like they're just like, hey, remember in the good old days where we had these really bare basic secret missions, where we're doing it again? And it's like, well, yeah, it's cool, but you also had so much opportunity to do something fresh with it. And with how much fresh stuff the MC5 deliberately tries to do, while also nodding back to the past, they could have done something genuinely kind of cool with secret missions, and they just didn't. And I kind of hope, like, if they ever do like a next generation of Devil May Cry, which I brought up the other part, that whoever takes the directorial chair, assuming they get all the combat routines right, because I can imagine whenever the next Devil May Cry comes out, Itsuno won't be directing it. Call it a hunch. I think he knows, because before DMC5 came out, he did an interview saying that he knows he's getting older and he's only got so many more games in him. So I can't help but feel like after Dragon's Dogma 2, since I'm I think everyone and their mother knows that's probably what he's working on. It's probably not going to be Power Stone or Rival Schools. It's almost definitely going to be DD2.
Hey, I could use it.
But after that, I wouldn't be surprised if after Dragon's Dogma 2, he either does a fighting game or just retires then and there. But either way, I don't think he's going to have like any more than 2 in him. And I certainly don't think he's going to make another Devil May Cry. So whoever takes the throne next, I hope they use the opportunity to innovate in different ways that Itsuno did. And for the love of God, I've got I know there's a cutscene coming up, and as we watch the van breach out like a whale, but I hope they pay more attention to some of the more passionate side of the community. I'll get to that after this cutscene.
Malthus. Of course. More trouble. Not sure about that one, though. Never seen it before. Not in the underworld, anyway.
Search for the Devil's Sword, Sparta. You know where it is. He told me to leave it be. But I'm afraid it still concerns me. As long as there is a blood descendant of Sparta, I cannot take any chances. Do you understand? Find it and destroy it. Only then will his reign be truly realized.
I see. I know what you are. Don't worry. I'll be gentle.
But it's time for V's better boss, and the reason why I like this boss is because I feel like it deliberately plays to his strengths and weaknesses. The boss will know when to make distance from you to give you room to breathe, and it will know when to break in to try and catch you. Let's see if I can do a tight dodge. Nope, failed it. I was trying to see if I can get that like near frame perfect on the dodge, because you get extra devil trigger for your trouble. But yeah, to talk about what I mean is, in Devil May Cry 4, Dante, the reason why Dante and Devil May Cry as a whole was pretty much kept alive was because the ceiling of skill that Dante had was practically unreachable even by the best of the best. There was always something new. And the three biggest things, well, the two biggest things, the third one's entirely my bias, I just like using it, but the two biggest things that helped cement that was reversals and guard flying. Reversals is an idea of even though you're locked onto a target, your attack goes a different direction. Usually the opposite direction, hence reversal, because you're reversing away from them. But it's a way of being extra stylish, because you can block on, be targeted on an enemy, and then whack something else while you're at it. Whilst guard flying was a much more advanced technique, which I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of, because I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on it. I could do it basics, but the whole, like, bouncing 4 or 5 times in the air, I was never consistent with. I could just do it the once, sort of thing. But the idea of guard flying is that you could launch yourself with a Royal Guard after a Starfall kick, which I don't think is what it's called in 4, but it's like the diagonal kick down with the gauntlet weapons of that game, Gilgamesh. Where if you could bounce off it with a guard and a well-timed trickster and start bouncing around like a psycho and get a lot of room and start like going right in, get lots of damage in, and then just do a circle in the air around the enemy super quick so I'll dodge their attack and then get straight back in without anything changing. Oh, but okay, now here comes V's big weakness. We can't do fuck all because both our minions are dead. But they didn't bring either of them back in 5, despite the heavy demand and the request of, like, please, come on. But I love what they did with Dante as a whole in 5. Like, I like his new weapons, but it felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities. The other big one is that he doesn't have a 5th style, and he did in 4. He had Darkslayer in 4. And because, you know, taking on the Elder Guryan Knight in this, another Guryan, and in DMC3, Guryan gave you Quicksilver, even if it's not Dante fighting this boss, they abso-fucking-lutely should have made it so V picks up Quicksilver to give to Dante, and they just didn't. Like, he picks up something, but it's for Nero, and it's not the same. They could have given Dante Quicksilver to try and at least make up for some of the guard flying and reversal mishap.
What will you do if you find it? You gotta be strong in mind and body to wield the Sparta, and you, sir, are neither. Hate to break it to you, but the Sparta will just be too much for you.
For me, yes. But what if the boy, Nero? Let's go. Once we are near the Sparta, even I should be able to sense its presence.
But that's it for V for now. He's not back till mission 9 in our Let's Play, since I won't be playing as him in 7. But yeah, like that's kind of the point I was getting at. Like they also got rid of Quick Drive, which is my personal thing. The one that said Big Free, even though it's kind of not. I like Quick Drive. I really enjoyed Quick Drive, and it just doesn't exist in 5. And it's just a shame. And it's like, I hope if whoever picks up the chair next pays attention to all these little community things that people love and makes something with it.
Not that I was barely even noticed. You know, you should go do your thing. I got this.
Yeah. What the hell? Whoa. He's too big to leave alone. Better take care of it. Stay alert.
Yeah.
Time for the next boss fight, and this mission is just this boss fight, and it's Gilgamesh, which is a nice homage to DMC4 because that was a weapon that Dante got. But yeah, I'll wrap up my points. I know I'm bitching a lot, but it's just with whenever there's a DMC6 or whenever if they bring back Dante, the ceiling, the limits of skill was endless, and it didn't compromise the skill floor. And I feel like the fact that they got rid of it didn't make the skill floor lower, it just made the ceiling lower. And so there was less interest to come back to it. And the evidence is shown that you're still seeing more DMC4 combo videos than DMC5 videos, unless there's mods involved. If there's mods, then people are more interested with DMC5's combo stuff, because it actually, like, a lot of the mods add some of the old stuff that used to be in the older games back into it, like guard flying, like reversals. And it's going further, like actually expanding on the co-op system to make it genuine co-op and not whatever co-op. They made their own LDKs. This was some baffling reason Special Edition's not on PC, at least yet. I hope it goes to PC soon, because there's literally no excuse for it to not be. It's genuinely dumb that they didn't. They just gave us the Virgil DLC. What? No, come on. I know I'm playing it off PS5, but that doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly be like, oh, it's great because I can play it. No, because that's just selfish and dumb. No, it's ridiculous that it didn't come to PC, and it's straight downright stupid that Capcom did that. But every good decision Capcom's been making in recent years, that weren't one of them. And I've heard like murmurs that there was a lot of complicated reasons, and maybe some contractual ones as well, as to why it went to console and not PC. But regardless, it still feels like they should have at least like explained themselves more, if that was the case, and not just went, oh, it's PS5 and Xbox Series X, okay, bye. Like they should have at least explained and been clear with the audience about it. And I'm not saying devs always have to tell us. I like being surprised, but if it's something that's going to be bad news, you should be honest. It's one of the things that upset me with Hitman 3, which is the 8th game, whatever, with the fact that all the way up until a week before launch, they had convinced everyone that, like with Hitman 7 or Hitman 2, you'd be able to transfer up your old levels on every console, including PC, even though it had an Epic Game Store exclusivity. And then a week before launch, IO just went, oh, we're not doing that anymore. You won't be able to transfer it on PC. You have to buy it again. and just dropped it without an explanation. And that was it. That was all we got. IO never apologized for it. And to this day, even though they rectified it after public outcry, they never apologized. They just said, we've changed it. The only person to ever apologize was an Epic Game Store representative. That was it. Because he didn't agree with it either, and he was on board with it. Also, we just got saved by one true Saiyan. Goku is playing as V. Actually, no, I take that back. No one would call Goku would never call himself the one true Saiyan. This is absolutely Vegeta.
I bet you taste like chicken.
But yeah, you get an extra oomph, as whilst V was doing Mission 5 and the feet were breaking through, Nero was fighting Gilgamesh above. But we should actually talk about this fight. Gilgamesh, in my opinion, is Nero's weakest boss fight. The first time you fight him, it's an enjoyable fight because it's so different. And it was before launch, it was the one I was the most intrigued by because it looked like a level that you played chasing a boss. Like, it felt like it was a constant thing where you'd be doing a back and forth, chasing it around the place whilst fighting it. I wasn't necessarily excited because I was aware it could have gone a lot of different directions, but I was definitely intrigued to see what they were going to do with it. But once you've done your first encounter with it, you learn that this thing has these get-off-me spikes, lasers, missiles that almost never land on target, and that's it. And this thing has the biggest health pool of anything in the game. And that's saying a lot because Cerberus also has way too much fucking health for his own good. But it ends up just making this fight completely forgettable and straight up boring. Even on DMD, especially on DMD. Oh, actually, no, he has these fucking Beyblades as well, but the Beyblades you barely notice. You'll probably still get caught every now and then. Don't get me wrong. But you're not going to go through it and be like, wow, what a great new fight. I really enjoyed... No, you're going to go through it and just kind of be done. You'll be like, okay, moving on, and go straight to Mission 7. And it's a shame that this kind of fight ends it up this way, because it could have been really interesting, but... I'm not in a position, unlike secret missions, to suddenly start suggesting what they could have done better, other than, you know, lower its health. But now it's just DT, so it's got the extra defense. The Beyblades are annoying, but you can shoot them down, so they're not too bad. I always forget about the Beyblades because they don't always show up, and I'm not kidding when I say that. Like, I've done DMD runs of this mission where they've not shown up once, and other times where they've showed up a million times. Like, this instance just happened to be one where they showed up, so I can demonstrate them, thankfully, which I guess works out in my favour. He will, if you're right underneath him, he will start slamming down like that, which is probably the most damaging attack, especially when he's in D&D because of the damage boost. But you're not likely to be under him long, especially the moment you realise you can jump cancel him, which is a universal ruling that I very much appreciate. It's something that Devil May Cry has always done right, which is universal ruling. If it's got a hitbox, it can be jump cancelled. No matter how big the attack is, you can Royal Guard it. But there's two factors I've always just appreciated, especially because when DMC5 first came out, it came out 2 months after Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 has enemies that have glowing red attacks, and if it's glowing red, you can't block it outright. If you try to, it will just go through and hit you. And so going from that, where it just has like certain attacks will just hit you kind of rule, to going to DMC5, where if you have a way of dealing with it, it will let you, no matter how big or grand the attack is. Like some of the grandest, biggest, most explosive attacks in the game, you can Royal Guard, and it will just let you. Every single attack in the game, in fact, even ones that aren't really attacks but have hitboxes per se, let's say ones that don't do damage but will knock you back if they catch you, you can Royal Guard. Like, you know when we were fighting Urizen and you do that shockwave to get us off him? If you were playing as Dante, you can Royal Guard that. And it just, that universal ruling gives you more desire to want to experiment and be creative with it all. But then you just got bosses like this, which just take forever anyway. But we're about to wrap up, so I'm going to call this apart. So next time on Devil May Cry 5, all the routes are destroyed, so we're going to start pushing towards our main objective, the main Clifoth tree, to try and get our revenge on Urizen. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.
This thing's a root too. What's going on?
Yo, ladies away. Got any questions for her? Better make it fast.
All right.
Hey, wait. We could use that. Pick it up. Not that one. The other one.
This one?
Next to it.
Come on, Nico, this one?
Sure.